sky, gazing far into the night. I raise my hand to the fire, but it's no use, 'cause you can't stop it from shining through. It's true, baby, let the light shine through. If you believe it's true, baby, won't you let the light shine through for you. In the sky, gazing far into the night. I raise my hand to the fire, but it's no use, 'cause you can't stop it from shining through. It's true, baby, let the light shine through. If you believe it's true, baby, won't you let the light shine through for you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How's it going? And welcome to another episode of Elite FPL. And joining me this evening, we've got Steve-O. Hello, Steve-O.
Good evening, Jason, and good evening, everybody joining us for what is this, Jason? The
Game
sixth
week.
one in a row?
It's a Gameweek Preview, Gameweek 24. It is literally podcasts like just coming thick and fast at the moment, as the game weeks are. Oh God, I'm looking forward to a really successful double game week after a bit of a shocker in game week 20. In game week 23. Hello to VAR, hello FPL Buddha, hello abdkzz, Brew, Auto Reclose, One Rovers Vlogs, how you doing? James Bang, Infamous FPL Zane, Hussein, we've got FPL Fozzy, Tobias, Bilal in chat too, Daily Llama, Jack Parry 429. Chelsea Flyer, Paulie, Shaz B. Apparently we're up against the Fantasy Football Scout cast tonight, says Firetog. Let's see how we do. Alpha 9, we've got Vish, we've got Samir Khan, we've got lots of you guys all chilling out there, guys. Hope you had a great day and looking forward to the game week tomorrow. Don't forget to have your teams all set. Are you all set upon your triple on Liverpool? Are you maybe not even tripling up on Liverpool? Maybe. There are maybe some people out there, especially those that are maybe going down the Aguero route, that may decide against it. Bruin chat saying, make sure you all hit the like button. Guys, this is one thing that we don't tend to say at the beginning of the streams. We tend to say at the end of the streams. But if you enjoy the content that myself and Steve-O do, please consider hitting that like button. It kind of makes us bigger on the YouTube map. More people get to see our videos, the more people like the videos. And also, if you're new here, please hit that subscribe button, guys, and support the show, support the stream. The biggest thing that you can do to help us out, help us grow as a channel, is to hit that subscribe button. That's really, 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 really grateful. So yes, game week 24. Steve-O, are you excited?
I am, but looking at these... so what I'm doing now, everybody, is doing the history for Salah, Mane and Trent Alexander-Arnold as the most popular captaincy options this particular game week. And I'm shocked at the results that I'm seeing so far. So stay tuned for that. Jason, I'm going to use this line again. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. Can you explain genuinely that wonderful, wonderful reaction that we all saw when Salah, because it is genius. It is legitimately genius.
What's genius about that? I mean, it's just literally, I don't know, man. It's a bit of an overreaction, really. I just think, like, whenever I see someone else's captain do better than mine, I'm always like, oh, you know. But I know, like, logically, it actually helped me in the grand scheme of things because people had Mane, I had Salah, so it wasn't the end of the world for me. So yeah, I've decided to stick a bit of background music on, guys. A bit of feedback there. Is it a bit too much for you guys? Let us know. No, I was a little bit like, your captain scored, great. Well, that's 5 points for you straight away. So yeah, it was, yeah. I think that on reflection, shouldn't have been so surprised, really. I think it's the manner of the fact that the way that the goal came as well. It was like, you've seen the highlights, haven't you?
Of course, yeah.
It was just a break, and I thought Dan James was going to get back and make the tackle, but probably Firetog said he can't hear any music. Well, if you're on the phone, you probably won't hear it on the phone, but if you've got headphones in like me, you certainly probably would hear it. I'll turn up a little bit, maybe. I don't know. I don't want to go too loud. But let's quickly go through. Let's go through the Champions League, the Elite Champions League, and as we all know, I have won 3 of my games. Steve-O,
I heard that yesterday. 3 out of 3.
I
think I've got a win, a draw, and a loss. It's crazy.
It's ridiculous. Let me quickly go to. I can't believe that I've won all 3. I certainly wasn't expecting to win all 3 with the people that I've got in the group with me. But as we see currently in Group A, as at the moment, we've got some movement in the tables. We've got Lynn, FPL, very well known Twitter celebrity, FPL celebrity, if you want to call her that, with her team What the Fuck, and Emmanuel Assar, one nice. Hey,
there goes 3 quid.
With globalization, we got FPL Penguin. Really, it is a really, really tight group there with literally no points really separating the first and fourth spot there. well, first and third spot certainly, and Nick Harris is still within a really good chance of getting through to the next round. Paulie FPL, that's what I want to say. I mean, he's going to be really disappointed. Some stories of people missing out on winning their matchups because of Salah taking his shirt off when he celebrated.
James Bang's reaction to that is just hilarious.
Yeah,
what's he doing?
I know. We've got Group B. Rafi Ali is top with 9 points, won all 3 of his games. Behind him, well, is 3 other players. This is insane. So we got him, Rafi Ali on 9, and then we got Gerard Riley, Jane, and Daily Lama, all with 6 points behind, all joint second essentially. And Show Me the Mane yet to register any points with Nish there too. Going down to Group C, we've got Lee Osborne, FPL Hot Sauce. You know him by the name of. We got him and Luke Williams and Kajal. I don't know how to say that name. Kajal, I think his name is. On 6 points with yourself. Actually, your group is tight, Steve-O. Even though you're in 4th spot, 1 win. And you could potentially see yourself in that 1st or 2nd place spot. So yeah, I'll find out who you're actually up against, Steve. Do you know who you're up against?
Not off the top of my head.
Would you like to know who you're up against, Steve?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, let me know.
Right, you are up against Kajetil Hitton.
Oh, he mentioned that the other day. Yes.
Yeah. So you're up against Never Win FPL. That's Never Win FPL. I would assume there.
Well, I don't know where his team is in any Cashman League or the Community League or anything. So I know he was actually watching the other day. So
he was. Yeah, I saw him in the chat. We've got Alpine FPL on top of Group D with 9 points. Joint top, I should say, with Mr. Malloy, Auto Close. We've got Ben Krellin. We all know him as the Spreadsheet King off of Twitter there. Upside Down Thinking. We've got Oscar, Brett Mollison, and Zach behind. Brett and Zach are not yet getting any points. They'll be looking to try and turn things around. Group E, we've got Phil Potter at the top. We all know Phil. Vardy decisions. 6 points. Really, really close group. Group E, another really close group with 4 teams on 6 points. Chelsea Flyer on 3. All teams there have got a chance of going through to the next round. Wow, that's insane. Group F sees myself at the top with 9 points behind with Aman Dillon. Space Monkeys with 6 points. Chaz, also known as Az, off of Fantasy Football Scout, with John Harris behind him on 3 points. Kieran, Hannah and Marlon Moore behind him. Group G sees Abdul Vali Mamuhed. I don't know. I'm sorry, I can't say some of these names. I'm useless at pronouncing. Tuvar or not Tuvar. Jordan W behind him, so he's on 7 points. Pretty close again. Group G. Rakesh, Sam Norris, Rezi Desi, and then Jules Breach. Jules Breach with 2 points, 2 draws. Wow.
That's crazy.
2 draws for Jules Breach. That's incredible. Group H sees Ashir May at the top with Block FPL and Wayne Hanley Gittam as well. I mean, essentially, even though we've got the head-to-head tie break, I mean, there's literally nothing in them. Nothing at all. It's just on points. Just on points at the moment. It's sorted by points. So that group is still wide open as well. Group H. Scrolling up to Group I, we've got Brew FC, Brew and Adam France, first and second respectively. Brew on 9 points, Adam on 6, tied with Jake Bull, Shane Uren, and then again the teams that are yet to take any points, well, put any points onto the table is Dorest or Dereco and FPL Minim Freer from the FPL Wildcats. We've got Group J. We've got Darren Monday at the top of Group J. Also well-known FPL manager, especially for Fantasy Football Scout. We've got Poch Academy, second place. I'm not gonna say his name. I don't want to ruin it. We've got Stephen Hermanstein, third there on 6 points, and FPL Defender behind on 3. Matt Midget Neck, one of our mods, on 1 point, along with Harry Daniels, also known as FPL Tips. Group K sees Patrick McNally at the top on 9 points, with behind him Tom Cantle and Daksha on 6. Ray Joyce on 3. Boona, FPL Boona, on 3 also, and Gary Horwood, also known as Harbour Boy in chat, yet to register any points. Group L has got Vince Chapman at the top with the Red Capes, Rich Clark, Pookie Pies, both joint scoring with 9 points there, first and second. We've got Andy from Let's Talk FPL, third place in that league there, and 6 points. Stas on 3. James Bang, yet to register any points. Come on, James, you can do better than this. And Terence Levy, also Manchester Reds. Plavak Das is top of Group M with Infinity Leo's 11 with 6 points. Alan Wellsteed and Sheldon Firetog, all 4 of them got 6 points. Another group that's really all to play for. Nathan Bacon there with 3 points in 5th, and behind him in 6th is Aussie Boy, yet to get any points off the mark. Shaban is top of Group M. Don't Be So Giroud with Philip Domovsky. Mitro's on fire. FPL Aguero, 6 points. All 4 teams there in the top 4 on 6 points. Another group that's really, really all to play for. Group O, David Kernahan and Wayne Dean top the Group O chart. David with 9, Wayne with 6. Gabriel Ropp in 3rd with 6 points also. And Davey FPL on 4th spot with 3. Notable there is Dan Bull, yet to get any points off the mark there. Dan, come on, Dan, you can do better than this. And Group P, finally, Group P, guys, if you're still with me, sees Charlie Hain, also known as Chicken Tikka Mosali, Gilfy Pressures, One Rovers Vlogs, whatever you want to call him, 6 points. Top with a tie-break score, FPL Mechanic there, 6 points next to him, and Vishwa 2. FPL Chef on 3, Davey P on 3, and Nasu on 3. That's another group that's wide open too. So there we have it, guys. That is the standings at the moment in the Elite FPL Champions League. Right, Steve, do some talking because I've got a sore throat.
Well, yeah, obviously tonight is our predictor game, as I always say. If you want to join us, if someone wants to come live on air right now, the waiting room is open, where you can come along and join myself and Jason predicting the games. I've been doing a lot of digging into who has been the best caller so far, and you've already mentioned her name, FPL Nymphria. All the way back in game week 7, she has got the highest caller score with a whopping 13.
The only female caller we've had on the show as well.
Yes. But interestingly enough, Jason, you, or the history, I think it was last week or the week before, I can't remember now, I've got it here, got an incredible 15 points in total for, obviously, the way we calculate this is by exact outcome for 3 points, outcome for 1 point, and then if you get nearest the score, i.e. if you predicted 1-0 and it ended 2-0, you get an extra point for that. And 15 points back in game week 15, where the history got 3 of the games bang on. In fact, if you remember, Jason, it was quite recent, back in game week 21, where you got 11 points, and you got 3 of the games bang on, which was Norwich Crystal Palace, Watford Wolves, and Newcastle versus Leicester. I think that was New Year's Eve or something like that. I can't quite remember now, but whatever.
There we go. I get lucky sometimes. That's it. Law of averages says I'm going to get lucky sometimes. Generally, I'm not that good at predicting. But this month, I've been pretty decent. I am currently, for those who don't know, who don't play the Elite FPL prediction game, feel free to join us at the start of a month, every month. I am, for January, the month of January, I am... Oh, won't let me switch, will it? It's going to be silly. There we go. Is it going to let me switch? I need to update my OBS, because this is what happens when you don't. There we go. If I do that and press enter, will it let me? There we go. don't we just love modern technology, ladies and gentlemen? I am third for the month of January, and when I say I'm third, I'm literally joint second. 2 points behind PDLM10. My predictions for the week were pretty awful, to be honest.
Oh, it's terrible this week.
Yeah, the past game week I got 2 outcomes correct and only 1 correct result. Like that's shocking.
Better than me.
That's shocking. Shocking. But anyway, I digress. Let's set ourselves up for game week 24, the double game week. If we've got anyone interested to come along with us.
We've got new people and names I don't even recognise.
We've got new people here. Brilliant. Steve, what are you waiting for? Choose one of them. Drag him in.
Yeah, let's bring in. Because he was here first. Blimey, there's 3 of them. Should we bring them all on?
Oh, God, we'll take all night to go through the...
That'd be alright.
Go on then, go on. Yeah, go for it.
Bandu Baby. Hello, Bandu Baby.
Oh, what's going on, right?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you, Bando.
I don't recognise the name or the... How long have you been on with us for?
I haven't joined the Discord, but I've been like watching the stream and that.
You are new to Discord then. So how long have you been watching the stream, if you don't mind us asking?
I reckon since the start of the season.
Oh, okay. And so you've been pretty much with us from the whole call-ins. What do you find? Do you enjoy the format of our call-ins?
Yeah, it's alright. There's a couple of weirdos in the chat, but everyone else seems pretty normal.
You get weirdos everywhere. But we like weirdos. It's fine. Don't we? Show me the money. Right, so Bando, you looking forward to doing some predictions with us today?
Yeah, let's go.
Right, we'll bring in a couple of more people as well. Samir as well going to be joining us. Samir, good evening. You're live on air with myself and Steve-O. How you doing?
Nope, he's not there.
Samir, are you there, buddy?
Yeah, I'm over here.
Excellent. Welcome to the stream. Samir, where are you from? I didn't ask Bando. I'll ask him in a minute. I think he's from UK though. But you're from Birmingham. Not too far away from me then. Bando, whereabouts are you from?
Birmingham as well.
Where?
Birmingham as well.
Birmingham. Okay.
Cool.
So what teams? Oh, okay. And what teams do you support? Is it Villa?
Yeah.
Nah, I'm a Chelsea fan, you know. Chelsea fan.
Okay. And what about yourself, Bando?
Yeah, I support Villa.
Okay. Okay. So, big game this upcoming, well, tomorrow night then, isn't it? Villa are home to Watford. What do you well, we'll talk about it in a minute, but you hopeful?
I mean, we don't have a striker, so like, not really, because Wesley's injured in it, so we're not scoring many goals and we're just getting carried by Grealish. So obviously, like, Watford are decent now, whereas like before they weren't very good. But obviously they've got a new manager, so we're probably, like, as long as we don't lose, then I think we're right. But we need to win the game, to be honest.
Do you have Grealish in your FPL squad?
Yeah.
Well, it's no surprise there. He's genuinely looking on fire, isn't he? And he's great value for money. Well, thank you for both of you for being on with us. So, Steve, do you want to kick-start the predictions?
Yeah, absolutely. We do kick off with Aston Villa versus Watford. And if anybody saw on Twitter at Elite FPL, I did reveal what my predictions were and also what the form is suggesting. And I'm going with a lot of draws. And I'm starting with this game with Aston Villa versus Watford, and I think this is going to be a 0-0, Jason.
A 0-0. Interesting. I don't think it's going to be a 0-0. I think it's going to be. Sorry to tell you, Bando and Samir. I mean, I know Samir, you're a Chelsea fan. You probably don't care about Villa, but I'm going to go with Watford to win 2-0.
I think, Jason, I'll go for a 2-0 Watford because Aston Villa defence will be a bit shaky, and I think Saad elevate and take it down.
Yeah, fair play. I mean, Bando, you talked about the fact of having no strikers. Your defence is a bit shaky. Grealish can't really do it all on his own. What's your thoughts?
I mean, we're inconsistent. We're not actually alright defensively sometimes. When we played Leicester in the cup, like a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
We've just switched to 3 at the back. When we were playing 4 at the back, we were just leaky, but we've just switched to 3 at the back. So I think with the new system and that, we're not actually that bad. I mean, we got smashed by Man City, but it's Man City, innit? So on their day, they can just smash you. So I think they know how important it is, and we're at home as well. So I don't think there's any way we'll lose. Just because if we lose, we're down. I think if we lose, we're definitely down. So I think we'll win. I never ever say we're gonna lose. So it's my own team. So I think we'll win 2-1.
2-1. Okay.
Well, the form isn't thinking that. It's going a 1-0 win to Watford. Now, moving on to Bournemouth versus Brighton once again. Would you believe it? I'm going to go with another 0-0. I just think Brighton can't seem to score. Bournemouth don't like scoring. I just think 0-0, Jason, again.
A 0-0. Bournemouth versus Brighton. I think this could be the game that Bournemouth finally get a win. I know this is going to be crazy, but I think that Callum Wilson is going to score in this game. I wouldn't be putting a bet on it myself, but I'm going to go with a 1-0 win to Bournemouth. And everyone in chat, of course, is going for Brighton. 3-0 Brighton, 2-1 Brighton, 1-0 Brighton, 2-1 Brighton, 2-0 Brighton. Everyone's going with Brighton. And I'm the one, Muggins here is the only one going with Bournemouth. What do you guys think? Samir?
I think it's going to be a boring game. I think it'll be 1-0 Brighton because both teams are very good form. I think Brighton are much better in form, but I think Bournemouth defense is a bit shaky with that Reaper at the back.
Okay. And Bando, your thoughts?
I think it would be 1-0 to Brighton because Cook's suspended as well, so I think they're in terrible form, and I think they'll go down, to be honest. Just because their form's really bad. So I think Brighton will win.
Okay.
Yeah, the form isn't suggesting that. That's gonna go 1-1. Talking of 1-1s, that's what I'm predicting the next game to be. It's Crystal Palace versus Southampton, and yeah, Jason, I'm going 1-1.
Wow. I'm a bit more hopeful on the Southampton. Danny Ings obviously didn't return anything at the weekend, but will he be rested? That is a question. Question marks over how many games, how many minutes Danny Ings will get over this double game week. I think he'll play. I certainly hope he'll play, and I think he'll score. Keep on this amazing run of form he's had of late, and I'm going to go with a 2-0 win Southampton.
2-0.
Samir?
I think I'm going the same with you, Jason. I hope Ings will be rested. I put him for last game, took up for Rashford because of the injury, and I hope he scores for me. Can be points for this week.
Well, I definitely hope so too, my friend. 1-0 Southampton, Vish saying. Scott Speed saying 2-0 Southampton. Anurag 2-1 Palace. 2-1 Palace also from One Rovers Vlogs. We've got 2-0 Southampton being a popular prediction here. 2-1 Southampton, Sultan Saeed. 1-0 Ings, says Mr. Anderson in chat. Ings will play, says Simon Bellamy. I like to have the confidence. Palace 2, Southampton 2, says Francis Logan in chat. Bando, your thoughts on this game, Palace and Southampton?
1-1, I reckon.
1-1.
I think Ings will score as well.
Okay.
Yeah, agreeing with the form there. The form is suggesting 1-1 in this particular fixture. Moving on to Everton versus Newcastle. We all heard what Paulie thought of the Newcastle game the other night versus Chelsea. Said it had 0-0 written all over it, and of course Newcastle pop up with that one goal there the last minute. However, I think Everton are going to come through this pretty comfortably here, and I'm going exactly as Anurag saying 2-0 to Everton, Jason.
2-0 Everton. Sanjay in chat saying 2-1 Everton. Lots of people going with an Everton win here. James Bang saying 1-1. I mean, Newcastle, they're on a bit of form at the moment. Will it be an easy game for Everton? I'm not so sure it will be. I think it's going to be a scrappy game. Maybe with one goal in it between the two teams. Will it be a 1-0? Will it be a 2-1? I'm inclined to think it'll be a 2-1. I'm going to go 2-1 Everton.
Samir?
For this game, I think we'll go for a 1-1 with this game, because Chelsea and Newcastle watching the game. Newcastle were very attackive and Chelsea were very attackive but missing opportunities. I think it will be a 1-1, but without Richarlison, I think Cavalier can make some points.
Bando?
I reckon it'll be 1-1. I think Newcastle are pretty decent with St. Maximin.
Yeah.
Because obviously they were missing him before, but he makes them much better, and then obviously they're really good defensively with I think they play 5 at the back, so I think they'll be hard to break down, but I think they'll score 1-1.
So people bringing in the likes of Holgate, Sidibe, Richarlison. Is Richarlison injured?
Yeah,
he is, isn't he? So it'll be Calvert-Lewin as the main attacking option, won't it? So yeah. So you saying 1-1, yeah?
Yeah, I'll say 1-0 there for this game.
Cool.
The form though is suggesting a 1-0, and if it is 1-0 again, that'll be the third straight 1-0 victory at Everton for Ancelotti. At I've completely forgotten what they're called. Goodison Park.
Yeah.
There we are. Now on to Sheffield United versus Man City. Will Aguero score again versus Sheffield United? Probably. I'm going 2-0, Jason, to Man City.
Will he play? Will he play? I mean, will he score? Sheffield United, they are a bit of a tough cookie to break down. I don't think it's going to be a massive scoreline for City of recent weeks. I think it's going to be more realistic. Possibly a 1-0 or even a 1-0 shock. Possibly even a 2-1 real shock. Realistically, I see both teams scoring. I really do. But I see Man City. I'm going to go 1-0. I'm going to go 1-0. Screw it. I'm going to go
1-0. Wow.
Yeah, it is a bit of a wow, isn't it? I don't think anyone else is saying that in chat. We've got 2-2 Scott Speed. 2-0 says the KDB show, Vince Chapman. 2-1 to the Citizen says Mr. Anderson. Gav D says City 2-1. Sheffield United 1, Man City 2. I was going to say that, Julius, but I just, now I've got Aguero out. I don't want to say that. So, Samir?
Yep.
What's your thoughts?
For this game, Sheffield United have been very, very good at the back defensively, and I'm not sure to play Lundstrom or Kelly this week, but I brought in Kelly. I said Lundstrom, but I think Sheffield United can make a shot at. I think we'll go for 2-1.
No, I mean, if it's the choice between Kelly and Lundstrom, I mean, one's playing essentially an attacking role with the bonus of a clean sheet. The other player is not nailed anymore, and in a Crystal Palace team that are not looking good at the back. So I think that, to me, it's an easy decision. I still would play Lundstrom at home to City. What about you, Sivo? Would you, out of the choice of Kelly or Lundstrom, is it obvious for you?
I would actually. Do you know what? I disagree. I would actually play Kelly personally.
All right.
I think there's a higher chance of Crystal Palace keeping a clean sheet against Southampton. Crystal Palace are no mugs, although ironically their home record is terrible this season. I could potentially see Crystal Palace getting a clean sheet there. Lundstrom, has it been brought off each game over the last two at the 67th minute or something like that?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't. Sheffield United, the only teams they seem to come unstuck against are Man City and Liverpool, and I personally think there's a higher chance of Kelly returning more points than Lundstrom personally. But again, a game of opinions.
Absolutely. People in chat, Mr. Anderson said that he would play Kelly. Sultan Saeed saying I'd play Kelly as well. There we go. Palace haven't got a clean sheet in the last 7 games, says Scott Speed. Worth thinking about. I don't think they're keeping a clean sheet. Sorry, at home Southampton, no chance. Absolutely no chance they're keeping a clean sheet. I think the chances of Lundstrom getting an attack in return is more than Kelly. That's how I see it. That's how I look at
City.
That. Yeah, against City. Yeah. Moving. They're not exactly amazing at the back, though, are they, Steve-O? Samir K, what's your thoughts on this fixture between Sheffield United and Man City?
I think he said 2-1.
Yeah, I said 2-1, Jason.
Oh, did you? Oh, no, sorry, Bando. What's your thoughts? Sorry, in this fixture.
2-0 Man City.
2-0 Man City.
The form is going 2-1 to Man City. Now moving on to Samir's team, it's Chelsea versus Arsenal.
Okay.
Again, I just think these are going to. I honestly think, Jason, this game week is going to be really, really boring, and I think these are just going to cancel each other out. And I'm going 1-1.
Well, I'll be interested to see what Samir says. Samir, I'm going to let you go next. Big game, big game.
Yeah. Big game for us for the top 4.
Yep.
I think for this game, I think I'm gonna go for the previous score. I think it's 2-1 to Chelsea.
2-1.
2-1. Sorry.
2-1. Interesting. Well, I think that this game is going to see some goals in it. I think Chelsea will be the victors, and I'm going to go with a 3-1 win to Chelsea. There we go. Bando, your thoughts?
They're both like leaky at the back, so I reckon 2-2.
The thing is, Arsenal's without Aubameyang, isn't he? Aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, but they've still got like good players, Lacazette, Pepe, and Chelsea aren't that good defensively. So
yeah, fair shout. Yeah.
But
what did you predict the score would be?
James and Abraham could deal damage to Arsenal.
What did you? Sorry, what was the score prediction again? Sorry, you broke up, Bando.
2-2.
2-2. Okay, draw. Score draw.
So Jason, what about you?
3-1 Chelsea, I said.
Oh, 3-1.
Yeah.
High scoring game with a 4.
Yeah.
He's only suggesting a 1-1.
Well, there we go. Let's hope it's wrong.
Now, finally, on to the first double game week team. It's West Ham. They're away at Leicester. The question is, will anybody have any West Ham players in? The answer is no. So, Leicester are absolutely terrible at the moment, but I still think they're just going to edge this, and I'm going 2-1 to Leicester, Jason, only because they're at home. If they were away, I'd probably go 2-1 to West Ham. But
I see Vardy doing something in this game. I really do. And I'm going to go with a 2-0 win to Leicester. Anurag in chat saying 4-2 to Leicester. One Rovers Vlog saying 2-1 West Ham. What? 2-1 Leicester, says Bilal, with Snodgrass and Vardy getting the goals. Amanda Dillon saying 3-1 West Ham. Get off of it. Don't be silly. Get off of it. Jason in chat saying 2-0 to Leicester. Matt D 0-0. Zena in chat saying 1-1. We've got Plavak saying 4-0 Leicester. Firetog 3-0. Frode saying 2-1. Human Being saying 2-1 to Leicester. Okay, this is more like it now, guys. A bit more like it. Samir, what's your thoughts on this game? Leicester at home to West Ham.
Ooh. Previously, Leicester defense has been shaky. I got Soyuncu in on 50-50 but situation, but I got Vardy in. So I think Vardy will score against West Ham, and I think I'm going to go for a 3-0 win to Leicester.
This is a game that I'm worried about not owning Maddison, Steve-O. So don't transfer him out. I've got a feeling he's going to do something. Yeah. I've also got Soyuncu in my team, and I'm starting him. He's got a good chance, I think, of West Ham. I just don't I just don't rate him to score in that game at all. But Bando, your thoughts? Leicester at home to West Ham.
I think Leicester will win 1-0. I just don't think West Ham have any good players, to be honest. Like, they're just average, aren't they? And I think Moyes came in, they got like a little manager bounce, but I think they'll go back down again. So yeah, Leicester will be in.
I think West Ham are going to be relegated.
I don't think they'll be relegated, but they'll go back down to like 17th, 16th. Yeah.
Okay, so what's the history say?
The form is actually going 1-1.
Again.
1-1, yeah.
God, it's going to be a boring game week, isn't it? You just know it.
Now on to Tottenham versus Norwich. Tottenham really do need to turn their season around at the moment. They just seem to be going. They take one step forward and 2 steps back, but I think they're going to get back on top of things here. Norwich, one of the worst defences in the division. I'm going 2-0, Jason.
I'm doubling it, mate. I'm going 4-0. I think this is a game that's going to be they're going to smash Norwich. I'm telling you now. Boona, Brew, if you're watching, this is the game to go and watch your team play. 7:30 at night. Tottenham going to rip Norwich apart. You wait and see, guys. 4-0. Boom. Samir.
Oh, this game, I'll go for a 2-1 win to Tottenham. Sorry for the audio owners.
Yeah, all one of us. Me. Jason, have you brought in Lucas Moura? Says Fire Talk. Bando, your thoughts on this fixture? Tottenham at home to Norwich.
I think Norwich will win 3-1.
Norwich to win 3-1.
Yeah, Pukki's gonna run right.
Really? Okay.
I reckon Norwich will do him.
Wow.
What makes you say that?
Yeah.
I just don't rate Mourinho, and I think Pukki's gonna find a bit of form again. So
you think it's gonna be a game that Norwich hit him on the counter attack, like Cantwell and Pukki getting in?
Yeah. I just don't rate Mourinho, to be honest. I think he'll be gone in the next year. Yeah.
So short-term managerial stint at Tottenham then for Mourinho. Interesting. Okay. The guys in chat, what are they saying, Steve-o?
It just looks like 2-0s everywhere.
Yeah.
Everybody's saying 2-0 to Spurs.
What's history saying?
The form is saying 2-0 to Tottenham. Now, Man U versus Burnley. I did say that if Greenwood is confirmed to definitely start, I'll definitely bring him in. No news as of yet. Rashford, we'll get your thoughts on that actually, Jason. Rashford being out for 2 to 3 months possibly. But I'm going 2-0 to United, Jason.
Yeah, obviously the comments about Rashford, the type of injury, the stress fracture to the back isn't good news. I mean, those sort of injuries are reoccurring injuries that you need to be very careful of, and I think United will take necessary precautions, and it's horrible to see it, but we should have enough firepower to go on without Rashford. I mean, it's always been about Rashford. Rashford's been the source of a lot of our goals this season, but it's time now for Greenwood to be given the chance to step up and get his fair share of starts and hopefully goals. Greenwood, for me, he's the complete. I know he's young, but he's showing signs that he is a complete forward, and he's got a finesse to him. He's got an eye for goal that few players have at that age, and he's very composed, generally speaking, and I like the look of him. He's fast, he's hungry, and it would be a travesty if Ollie doesn't start him at home to Burnley. I'll be shocked. I'll be gutted. I need Lingard to stay on the bench, and just keep the seat warm for the whole 90 minutes. We've got, it's a good chance now to bounce back, obviously, after that derby loss against Liverpool, but I never thought for a minute we'd get anything out of that game. But this game, I think, again, you can tell me in a minute about the history, but I think we've got a good history versus Burnley. And I'm going to go with a 2... we always concede a blimming goal. I'm going to go 2-1 United. There we go. We always concede a blimming goal. We do.
Against us, the team that can't score.
Well,
I
yeah.
was shocked. I'll be disappointed with Williams if he concedes tomorrow. But Samir?
For this game, I think Burnley can make a shocker against United. The last game they made a shocker of Leicester. Burnley did make very good chances against Leicester, but I think Burnley can take this game. I'm going opposite. I think 2-1 Burnley.
2-1 Burnley.
Yeah, I think 2-1.
There you go, Steve-O. You'll be jumping for joy if that happens.
Hopefully, for the top 4 spot. Hopefully, United lose.
Wow. Okay. And finally, Bando, baby. What's your thoughts on this fixture then? Man United at home to Burnley on the Wednesday evening, late kickoff on the Wednesday evening.
I think Man United win 1-0. Martial goal. I think Burnley play like hoofball mostly, don't they? They just launch it up and then they have like their 2 tall strikers heading it, don't they?
Yeah,
normally.
that's pretty much it.
It's old school. It's old school football. That's.
I reckon Maguire will pocket him because he's decent at heading, any so.
Oh well, we've conceded a lot from set pieces this season. We look a bit disjointed at the back, to be truthful, but who knows? I think that Burnley may like I said, nick a goal in this. I just hope that we can score one more than them. So I'm going to go with 2-1. But interesting. What's the history say on this fixture, Steve?
Yeah, the form is going 2-0. Looking at the away form from us, we can't score a goal basically, and we like to concede. We're averaging about conceding 2 goals away from home each match. So, whereas you lot are scoring 2 goals per game at home, so it looks like 2-0 to Man United. At last, we come on to Liverpool. One of 2 games, of course. This is what this double game is all about. Liverpool. They're up against Wolves. And yeah, I predicted it all last night with James Bang. I think that Wolves unfortunately will score, and I think Liverpool will edge this though, and I'm going 2-1 Jason.
I'm going the other way around, mate. I think Liverpool are going to get. Maybe I think they're going to win. I think Wolves are going to win.
Jason's biased again.
What are you on about? My bias? I own Gomez. I own Gomez and Trent Alexander-Arnold. They've won the league already. I think that Wolves have been a bit of a bogey team for a lot of top teams, and I think that they're not a pushover team in my opinion. And I think that Liverpool may get a bit of a surprise going to Wolves. I think that the Molyneux will be loud, and I think Jimenez again will prove to all of his Salahs that they should have kept him. I'm going to go 2-1 Wolves. Everyone in chat's like, you ain't got a clue, Jace, what you're on about.
Well, Samir, you predicted Burnley beating Man U. Are you predicting Wolves to be beating Liverpool then?
Nah, I don't think so. Wolves can be Liverpool. I think Liverpool attack has been brilliant. With United, Liverpool will roll over them, I think. But this game, I think I'll predict 3-1 to Liverpool.
3-1. Bando?
2-0 Liverpool. I just think they're like way too good to for Wolves to get close to them. So,
well, the people in chat are tending to agree. Well, most people anyway. We've got 2-2 draw with Nick Patel. We've got 2-0 and 3-0 both games. Frode says we've got lose to Wolves. Simeon Batchelor's laughing out loud. It seems me suggesting that. Wolves 1, Liverpool 2, says Paulie. 3-1 Liverpool, says Zena in chat. James Carson 2-1 Liverpool. 2-1 being a very common score prediction here with the chat. 4-2 Liverpool. Anyone going with the Wolves win? Yes, Abdul-Qadir says 3-2 to Wolves. That's a little bit. Well, I'll be surprised if it's that high scoring, to be honest with you. One Rovers Vlogs, Charlie saying 3-2 to Wolves too. 3-0 to the Reds. We've got. Just like Jason said that Leicester would beat Liverpool. Hey, it's just an opinion, Simeon. Absolutely an opinion. It's nothing to do with the fact that I hate Liverpool as a team. But moving on.
Well, the thing is that the form is suggesting 2-1 Liverpool. The history is suggesting 2-1 Liverpool. Here's the statistics regarding captaincy. So I've done Salah, Mane, Trent Alexander-Arnold. Now, the last 6 fixtures between Liverpool and Wolves have included 2 FA Cups and 1 friendly. Here we go, everybody. Will this give you a change of captaincy? Because unfortunately for me, it has. So, Salah, 3 starts, 1 sub-appearance, 1 goal, 1 assist. The last time he played Wolves, he got, which was this year, he got 3 points. Mane, 3 starts, 3 goals. Last time he played Wolves, he got 11 points. Trent Alexander-Arnold, 2 starts, 2 clean sheets, 1 assist, and he got 8 points versus Wolves last time round. And I'll total it all up at the end of it to show you exactly how many goals and assists and clean sheets that Salah, Mane and thier have got. But we finally move on. The following week, it's West Ham versus Liverpool, the final of this double game week. It's their game in hand. And I think Liverpool will come through this pretty comfortably, actually. I think West Ham aren't that great. And I think Liverpool are going to win 2-0 against West Ham, Jason.
I think that's a solid score prediction. For once, I'm going to agree with you. I'm going to go 2-0 to Liverpool also.
Samir?
I think I agree with you too as well. I think go for 2-0 win for Liverpool.
I didn't quite hear that.
Yeah, he's agreeing with us.
2-0? Are you going to make it a hat-trick, Badu?
Okay, say that.
Bando, you're going to go with it? You're going to agree with us to make it?
Yeah, I reckon 2-0.
There we go. We've all agreed on one.
Congratulations, we've had a quadruple of agreements because the form is going 2-0 as well. So there's 4 of us saying 2-0.
So what's a fifth? Is it a heptuple?
The history though, 4-1 to Liverpool, and all the last 6 games have been in the Premier League versus West Ham. And here we go for Salah, Mane and TAA, and it's looking good for all of them.
Quintuple, sorry.
So Salah, 4 starts versus West Ham, 4 goals, 2 assists. Mane, 5 starts, 5 goals, 2 assists. Trent Alexander-Arnold, 2 starts, 1 sub-appearance out of the last 6. So as a total up, Salah, 7 starts, 1 sub-appearance, 5 goals, 3 assists.
Oh.
And this is why I'm potentially going to be changing my mind now. Mane, 8 starts, 10 goals, 2 assists. Trent Alexander-Arnold, 4 starts, 3 clean sheets, 1 assist. And I think I may be tempted to go with Mane now.
Go on then.
Oh, I have a question. Should I use my triple captain on Mane?
Well, this is the thing. This is the big question of the double game. Is the triple captaincy to be used or not? Me personally, I ain't bothering. I can't. Only because I just think that everybody's going to be using the triple captaincy on one of the most
3
popular captain picks,
yeah.
and I don't think it's going to be making much of a difference. But if you're predicting essentially a 4-0 aggregate scoreline, what are you predicting Mane to do in those games, Bandy?
I don't know if there'll be like a better opportunity because like Liverpool are playing really well right now and they've got 2 games and then they're not against. I mean, Wolves are pretty decent, but I don't rate West Ham, and I think Mane can score in any game. So I just thought like there's not really a better time to use it, and I think it's mostly luck anyway. Like if you triple captain someone and they just bag 2 goals, that's just luck, isn't it? So
yeah. How are you doing in the game this season?
I'm like 1 million overall, so not like amazing, but I'm just unlucky. Like genuinely, like I take Rashford. Like Ings is banging, and then Rashford, I didn't have Ings, and then Rashford gets injured, I bring Ings in, and then they score 2 goals, and he doesn't even get a goal or assist. Like, I never captained De Bruyne, and he's banging. I captained him once this week, and he blanks. I just think I'm unlucky, but...
Very good, Jason. I love the fact you don't think I'm reading it.
Well, sometimes I wonder.
For anybody listening on audio, Jason's just sneakily put in there in chat if you think put a cross if you think Steve-O is bluffing.
Mind games #. But yeah, so are you 100% sure of that, or are you possibly gonna change your mind come tomorrow evening?
Well, I've already put it on, but obviously, like, I can cancel it, so I don't actually know. But I just think, like, it's mostly luck, like triple captain, and this is like the luckiest I'm gonna get when they've got 2 games. So
people hold triple captainship in such high regard; they see it as the holy grail of FPL, when it's really not. To me, it's worth 15 points. I mean, at best, I mean, you're looking at 10-15 points. That's if the player does great. I actually think that a bench boost on a double game week, on a planned double game week with a planned full squad with a decent bench is worthwhile a lot more. And then again, the free hit as well. I look at them way more than the triple captain. So I don't see why people get so hung up over the triple captaincy chip. We majority of the times people fail. They do so much calculations, and they look at the risk, they look at the potential rewards, and they think about it way too much, and then they end up getting 6 points. Yeah. But anyway, it'll be interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see what Steve-O does with his whether he does or doesn't play his triple captain, or he's trying to bluff us all. Is that the face, ladies and gentlemen? Is that the face of a man that is bluffing you?
Let's talk to Samir first. We'll get on to me and you, our teams later. But Samir, what are you planning with this double game week?
For this double game week, I think I'm not activating this triple captain on Mane or Salah for this double game week.
Okay, but you don't know which to be putting on.
No. I think I got a feeling there could probably be a rotation between Mane and Salah. But I do not have Salah at the moment. Just got Mane and Trent in my team so far because I don't have enough funds for Salah. But I think Mane would do the job for me. I just put normal captain on him so far.
So you're not planning on bringing in Salah then?
I don't think so because I don't have enough funds for him because of the transfers I made for the transfer in De Bruyne for Crystal Palace game. I thought it would get some points for me, but the wrong decision for putting De Bruyne in for this last week.
Fair enough. Cool. So, okay. What do you want to do next, Steve? Do you want to see if they want to post their teams in the team screenshots, or are we just going to move on to our teams? What's the plan?
Let's just move on to. I just want to say thank you to the both of you for joining us tonight.
Is Boona there now?
Say again?
Is Boona there, or is he here, or is he?
Boona, if you want to talk, by all means.
Boona's lurking away.
Good evening.
Evening,
Boona. How's it going, buddy?
Yes, good mate. Yourself?
Did you hear my Tottenham prediction?
No, I covered my ears.
I said 4-0 Tottenham. You're gonna smash Norwich, mate. Your team better not let me down for another time this season. I tell you now.
Well, nothing would surprise me right now, mate.
Is it a game week to captain Son when everyone else is captain Mane? And
you know what? It wouldn't surprise me if Son was the captain choice.
It'd be funny, wouldn't it? It would be so funny, wouldn't it, if people captain TAA and he concedes in both games. I mean, it's very unlikely, but This season. It would be indicative of this season, wouldn't it, for something like that to happen with people going with the popular choice and then all coming crumbling down. And Tottenham, the ultimate troll. Well, they're not the ultimate troll, but they have trolled a lot of people this season with their certain FPL assets here. And Buddha, it's been a while since I spoke to you. Actually, I just want to say, first of all, before we carry on with you, Buddha, I just want to say thank you to Samir K and Bando Baby 29, who's come on this evening to join us to talk about Game Week 24 and predictions for it. Steve, what's the funny?
Dan in chat, what he's saying is hilarious.
What's this? It's time to go! Arsenal Fan TV, anybody? Other fan sites are available.
I just want to say one thing to Buna.
Yeah.
You there, Buna?
Yes, I'm here, mate.
Do you still work at the Access?
We will leave him there because that was a troll. And that will be the last time he comes on air. But anyway, carrying on.
Buddha, are you all set? Samir K, thank you ever so much for joining us this evening.
Alright.
I hope to speak to you soon, buddy. Take care. Don't be a stranger. Take care, dude. Oh, Buddha, you've posted your team in chat. You've got Son in your team. I talked about Spurs and home to Norwich. I think they'll score well. Are you confident with your captaincy choice of Mane?
Yeah. I mean, I posted yesterday. I don't know if Steve, if you'd seen it, but Mane's record against these two teams, especially of recent, is pretty strong, and that was enough for me to confirm that I'd be captaining him. To be honest,
that's fair enough. You got a really
Steve,
strong. It's a really I know he's typing away. He's smashing his fingers on the keyboard there. It's like just rattling my brain at the moment. That's so loud. Your team's looking really strong. You've got that Brandon Williams pick home to Burnley, McCarthy in goal away at Crystal Palace. It's a really strong team. You've gone with Mahrez. Obviously, he was dropped by Pep last game week. I mean, Sheffield United, I don't think are going to be an easy team to beat, to try and break down. Where do you think the points are going to come from your team, Buna? Let me just bring your team up actually, because I'm talking about your team and nobody can see it. So just 2 seconds. I'll bring it up now.
I just want to give a shout out to my haters because clearly I'm doing something right.
Hey, look, you're a moderator. You're doing your job.
It's cute.
Yeah. Let me quickly bring your team up. There it is. Let's bring it down. There we go. Right. So, Bruno.
Yes, mate. So I've got a bit of a dilemma. 1 second. Really loud background noises. Yes. 1 sec. I can hear myself.
I can't hear you twice, put it that way.
Alright, so I was saying I've got a bit of a dilemma in the sense that I'm not too sure who I'm going to play out of Greenwood and Maupay, but I think we should find out team lineups for the Brighton game because it's the first game of the game week.
Yeah. So you're just going to wait till last minute?
If we're going to find out that Maupay is benched, I'll play Greenwood. But if Maupay starts, I'm going to start Maupay and keep Greenwood on the bench. But I've got a good feeling about Greenwood this game week.
Well, I'm glad you have. I just think every time I have a good feeling about Greenwood, Ole brings me back down to earth. But I just think that with Rashford being injured now, you'd think that he's going to be surely set to start that game.
You think so? Because I understand why Ole didn't play Greenwood at Liverpool. It's just the magnitude of the game. But you'd think he's mostly rested now. So there's a good chance he plays midweek. And I really do want to play Greenwood. So I'm hoping Maupay doesn't start. Or one of my other players that play in the 7:30 fixture tomorrow don't start.
That's a fair shout. Stevie, what do you think when you see Buna's team here? Do you think that obviously recently he's wild carded? Do you think he's set up well for this double game week? Is there anyone in that team that you're worried about not owning?
No, not particular. I think it's a perfectly good team. There's nothing that I look in there and think, oh my goodness. Son is the one which I, you've just mentioned you thinking 4-0, I'm thinking 2-0. I'd like to think Sun will score versus Norwich, so that's a big differential for a lot of people. Mahrez, of course, a player which always seem to play in away games. I would again, should he play versus Sheffield United? That's up for debate. But you'd like to think that based on what everybody's been saying about the fact that Sterling's been playing so bad, Mahrez in such great form, you'd like to think that he'd play against Sheffield United and keep up his continue attacking returns. So that's another good differential. The strike force of Mopé and Calvert-Lewin this particular game week up against two teams which aren't going to be setting up in a way in which it'll be easy to score against them. Like I say, I'm predicting 0-0 in the Brighton game, and Calvert-Lewin versus Newcastle. I would again like to think that Calvert-Lewin will probably get some attacking returns versus Newcastle. Newcastle likely to concede versus Everton in this particular case. It's got 1 or 2-0 written all over it, or maybe even 0-0, another 0-0. So yeah, but the Mane captaincy makes complete sense. The history suggests going with the Mane captaincy, but Trent Alexander-Arnold has 3 clean sheets out of 4 and 1 assist in those two teams that he's going to be playing against. Imagine if he got 2 clean sheets and an assist in this. It'd be incredible.
Well, to be honest with you, Alexander-Arnold, he's one of those players.
He's a midfielder. Okay.
He's a midfielder, isn't he? Yeah, you're right.
I was going to ask this, right? If Trent Alexander-Arnold was actually classified as a midfielder, not a defender, right? Would we be considering putting the captaincy on him if he was a midfielder? No. Okay. No.
No, because your midfield options would be taken with Mane and Salah, wouldn't they?
But let's just say if you had all 3, because they're just so consistently playing so well.
It depends on his price, though. If he was like 6 million, providing those attacking returns that he is, he might be worth a punt, and then we'd probably go with Robertson or Van Dijk.
Yeah, I think if Trent Alexander-Arnold was a midfielder, I'd be going still with. If I was going double up in midfield, I would be going Mane Salah purely for their threat around the box. And I would be going with Robertson or one of Van Dijk or Gomez as a third, to be honest with you. But we've blessed with the fact that we've got players like Alexander-Arnold in the Premier League who are, like you said, essentially wingers with clean sheet bonus points. So, I think he's a good pick. I think he's a great pick. People will triple captain him. I think you could be ended up with massive green arrows. Easily. Looking at your team, the ones that stand out for me that I don't own, Mahrez, Son. Son is a big one for me. Big one. I think Son is due a big haul, and I think Norwich could beat that team. Calvert-Lewin doesn't scare me.
I'm not confident. We're absolutely atrocious right now.
It's mainly Son. Yeah, I mean, everyone else I'm not too fussed about. I can't see Mupai's if he does get something, I can't see him getting more than 1. Same with Calvert-Lewin. I see a sub 10-point haul for both of those strikers, really. But Son is the one I think you can get double-digit hauls. But yeah, it's a decent team. It's a decent team, and interesting going with Mane.
Are you looking forward to this game week, Boona? Or do you think it's just going to be because everybody's got the same players that it's just going to be like, who cares?
No, I'm quite looking forward to it. I think I've got a few differentials in Mahrez, Son, Morpay to an extent, and Williams, and even Holgate and McCarthy, to be fair. So I'm interested to see how it goes. I'm more so hoping that everyone's triple captains fail.
Well, there you go.
I'm looking forward to that. Bloody looking forward to that, I tell you.
Do you have a triple captain, Boona?
No, mate, I used it to perfection.
If you did have a triple captain, would you use it this game week?
Yes, I probably would.
Well, I wish you the best of luck, my friend, because I know recent weeks you've had a bit of misfortune prior to the wild card. I mean, it's time to get some green arrows, isn't it?
Bloody hope so, Jace.
Absolutely. Boona, thank you ever so much for joining us tonight. And
cheers, boys.
please come on midweek Well, and I think we'll be live Wednesday night. Or come in the chat if you can't come on and talk to us. Talk to us about that Norwich game, win or lose.
Oh, mate, take it easy.
Cheers, dude.
Boona.
Cheers, Boona. Take
Bye.
care, buddy.
Bye.
Take care. FPL Boona there, guys. Showing his team there. We got. I think it's a strong team. Steve-O, is it time to reveal our teams?
Yeah, I'd need to post it, but
You post your team. I will post mine. I have made one transfer this game week. One solitary transfer.
Well, that means you're not going with Mane then.
I was never going to spend 4 points. I was thinking about it. I was never going to spend 4 points to swap out one Liverpool for another.
It's cool.
And I mean, you know, my team is as follows. Let's bring it up, guys. 4-4-2, classic formation. Gaeta in goal at home to Southampton. A goalkeeper that's renowned for getting great saves points potential. I'm confident that he could get some points there. We've got Soyuncu at home to West Ham United. Could he possibly get me a clean sheet? I don't know. I'm not amazingly confident about it, but he's the best I can do. I've got Greenwood on the bench. I could start Greenwood instead of Soyuncu. That's something which I have been toying about. To be decided yet. I'll sleep on it, I think. Gomez, double game week. Alexander-Arnold, double game week. Aurier, home to Norwich. Very attacking. Very unlucky to not get an assist in the game against Watford. And Lamela, if he could shoot properly. We've got Martial, home to Burnley, who's got potential to get some points there. De Bruyne away at Sheffield United being my only Manchester City player. Salah as my captain away at Wolves and West Ham United. I think even though he spurred quite a lot of chances, he did get the winning goal against Man United and he looked really, really happy. It's the first time I've seen Salah celebrate like that for a long, long time. Took his shirt off, danced around the touchline. We've got Son at home to Norwich to complete the midfield four with Ings and Vardy, my two attacking options. One Ings away at Crystal Palace and against my goalkeeper Gaeta. Not ideal, but who knows? It could the stars could align for me, and I could get points from both. Vardy home to West Ham United. I think it could be his game week to get some points. Like I said, got Greenwood on the bench, Dendoncker and Lundstrom. Greenwood, a good candidate to start over at Soyuncu if I know more information closer to the time. Do you know what? I think I might just do it. What do you guys think? What do you guys think? What do you think, Steve-O?
I didn't actually hear what your transfer was. What did you say? Sorry, I wasn't actually concentrating.
Sterling out, Son in.
Oh, right. Oh, wow. Brilliant. Very, very good. Here we go. Here's that word again. Logical move. Although it's like Boona said, their form of late is just it's just terrible. But I think that makes complete logical sense. Yeah, exactly.
Hence the 4-0.
Yeah.
Well, it's the. Come on, Fire Tiger. I'm not that shallow. Come on. Steve-O, get Firmino. More of a chance to get a return, says Abdul.
Well, I've already got a triple up, so it doesn't matter. Then.
No. Take a -4. Come on. You know you want to do it. Ings will be benched. I'm pretty certain of it, says FPL Boona. Okay. Show me the money says I think the teabags would not make it through the passport control. Strong Yorkshire tea in Jason's cup this month. Wow. Thanks for that. So Hassan Holt alluded to rotation again today in his press conference. Don't scare me. Don't scare me into a -4. Don't do it. It's right. Then Donker's there to get me those points at home to Liverpool. Well, it'll be Soyuncu, wouldn't it? Players clean sheet en route. Ings maybe benched. Still going to hold. Yeah, I think it's sensible to hold him if you got him. Unless you really, really want to make that transfer. Steve-O, have you got your team? Have you posted it up?
Yeah, I've just posted. Yeah.
There we go, guys. Let's have a quick look to see what Steve-O's done with his team. Steve-O's team is up now. Steve-O, confident this game week?
Yeah, I'd like to. I honestly, I always keep saying this. I pride myself on my predictions, and I truly think that Liverpool will keep a clean sheet in one of the games. I think they'll get a minimum of 1 clean sheet out of 2. Obviously, I predicted it versus West Ham. Trent Alexander-Arnold, I'd like to think he'd get me a minimum of an assist across those 2 games. He in the last fixture versus Wolves, he got 8 points, so that kind of serves me quite happy with that. Salah and Mane, I am predicting to do pretty well. Again, I'd like to think that both Salah and Mane will get a minimum of a goal and assist between them. I don't think it's going to be that high scoring game week. I've already done, as we've all seen, our predictions. The questionings for me are, do I get rid of Danny Ings and bring in Greenwood or not? Just for a one-off. Do I get rid of Maddison for somebody for a one-off fixture? Do I do Vardy and Maddison out for Aguero and whoever?
Oh yeah. Well, I was going to actually ask you a question. This was a genuinely right. Do you know what last year, early in the season, I was doing crazy moves. I just want to quickly ask your opinion and chat's opinion. This is, by the way, this is not something I have obviously done, but I was going to do. I was going to take Soyuncu out, and I was going to take Vardy out, and I was going to bring in, you guessed it, I was going to bring in Aguero, and then bring in a 4.6 or lower defender for a -8. Now, pretty insane. But that was the thoughts that were going through my mind after seeing Aguero get 2 goals after his hat-trick. But I just think that's just chasing points again, and it's just spending points when you don't need to spend points. It's not worth it. I know it's not worth it, but this is what I was going through in my mind. But anyway, back to your team, Steve-O. Steve-O, what's your thoughts on that? You'd probably be like, yeah, go ahead, do it. Give me those 8 points, Jay. But no, that's what was going through my mind.
Once again, we've seen Vardy's form of, Leicester in general's form of late. In fact, it wasn't just, was it Paulie that said it yesterday about, it was somebody that was talking about the fact that maybe the transfer rumours and everything are playing on the mind of Maddison and Leicester in general. And it was actually mentioned on the radio yesterday as well, the fact that Maddison looks a bit not in it, along with some of the Leicester players, due to the fact that potentially these rumour mills are getting to them, and they're just, I don't know why, they're just not performing. You know, like I said, their results haven't been great of late. Losing to Southampton and Burnley, that's shocking. That's terrible, considering how well Leicester have done this year. And they're up against West Ham. Of course, West Ham are going to set up defensively. We're not going to beat about the bush here. Of course, West Ham have got is it Randolph in goal. They got that 1-1 draw versus Everton, but had that draw written all over it. To be honest with you, when you think about it, and do you know what? I could see maybe I predicted 2-1 to Leicester. I could see it being 1-1, maybe 2-1, even West Ham. The way West Ham are going about things, and do you know what? Bringing in Vardy, Aguero for Vardy. How can you afford that?
I've got 2 million in the bank.
Oh, have you really? Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, 2 million in the bank, so I could upgrade Vardy to Aguero and then downgrade. Well, slightly downgrade. It's like a couple of million, point, I think 3 off. So 4.9 I'll get back for Soyuncu, so I'd have 4.6 to spend on a defender. So I could bring in the likes of, I don't know, well, I'm not going to, I've got a few options. I was thinking about possibly a Newcastle defender or Brandon Williams even as a cheapie who I think that's gonna get some game time. Who knows? But I was just thinking at the time, you know, could it be that Aguero is now in a resurgence? But like I said earlier on in the stream, like it's the minutes, isn't it? It's always the gamble with Aguero. You just don't know what you're going to get. You don't know if you're going to get a full 90, you're going to get a 60 minutes, or you're going to get a benching. You just don't know. And with that, is it worth having 12 million worth of striker?
But that's the reason. Let's be honest here again. That's why you got rid of him. That's why you got rid of him. because of that.
He was not only in certainty, but he was in really rubbish form for the price. He was not given any points for the price, and the moment I got rid of him, he exploded. And that's just luck, isn't it? It's the way the cookie crumbles. But could it be now that Aguero, he's going to continue this streaky run of point hauls, and people are going to be, just so blinkered by Liverpool that they don't consider him? I mean, that's the question, isn't it? That is the question.
I think I'm just going to ride the wave this particular game week. For me, I don't need to change my team. I'm pretty set with it. It's just this news about potentially Danny Ings being dropped. That would just, and the fact that he's up.
Do you think
Crystal
he will?
Palace, well, if the manager's come out and said it, I mean, I think it'd be stupid to drop your in-form striker. If your manager's come out and said it, I mean, I made this point the other day that surely you'd drop him against. They've got Tottenham, I believe, in the FA Cup. I would have thought that he's going to get dropped in that.
Well,
So-
I don't know. Well, it's guessing games, isn't it? Again, it's I don't know. Vardy and Ings to other players. Vardy and Ings to Aguero and Pookie. Oh my God! There we go. Done. No, moving on.
Yeah,
I foresee a Mane triple captain for Stevo. Says auto reclose. What do you think about that?
No, I'm not using it. I don't need to use it. I don't need it, to be honest with you. I don't want to be triple captaining. I've already said that I'm going to be using all my chips towards the end of the season. So I think that it's one of those. Scott Fitzgerald saying that captain Trent Alexander-Arnold, it's not a huge mistake, but I think it's overthinking it. I don't think it's overthinking it. Overthinking it would be overthinking over Mane and Salah. I was going to captain Trent yesterday, but I just kept it on Salah because I thought, no, I stuck it on Salah in the first place. I'm sticking with my gut. It paid off slightly, but I wish I'd rather have just stuck it with Alexander-Arnold, and I'll just happily do it this particular game week. Why not? If I didn't own Trent Alexander-Arnold, then I would put it on. Well, based on the history, I'd go with Mane, but Salah seems to be one in form at the moment, so I'd go with Salah. The thing with Trent Alexander-Arnold is that every time I seem to listen to the radio, it's just his name. He's essentially, as Jason said, a right, left winger, whatever. And to be honest with you, their the Liverpool aren't scoring that many goals.
No.
There's a higher potential for getting clean sheet / bonus / potential set piece returns from Alexander-Arnold than anything.
Yeah, I mean, Tobias, moving on to Tobias, what he said in chat is that we should hopefully get early team news in that Southampton game. So hopefully know if Ings is going to be benched and maybe be able to react to it in time. Southampton versus Crystal Palace. So, I mean, I'm just looking. Do you know what? I'm 0.3 from just doing a Vardy to Aguero. It's so annoying. It's so annoying. It's so annoying. It's ridiculous. But it's one of those, isn't it?
In answer to Show Me the Mane's question, if I could rewind the clock back to August, what would I change? Well, I in one of the streams during the pre-season, I said that what I'm going to be definitely doing this season is going with my gut, no matter what. And my gut told me to, let's be brutally honest here, go with the team that Jason had in game week 1. If I'd have just left my team as it was rather than go into panic mode and go.
Oh, I had an amazing start to the season, didn't I? I was up in the top 10,000 after a few game weeks, and then it all went downhill after that.
Yeah, and if I'd have just stuck with my history captaincy choices, I'm not suggesting for 1 minute I'll be number one in the world, but I can guarantee you that I'd be doing a hell of a lot. I reckon I'd be about between 100 and 200,000.
You kept saying that you were going to start listening to yourself more, and then didn't.
Yeah.
So
no, exactly. I just end up following the sheep and everything.
Yeah.
And after our stream, the stream on Friday, when I was just like, you know what, I'm just pretty much setting my team as it is, and I'm not playing around with it, and I'm just set it as it is. You know, whatever happens, happens. You must feel this pain, Jason, when you actually have, in my case, an actual captaincy triumph and a decent game week. You then think, oh, I'm actually back in it. But reality is that in the Cash Mini League, I haven't moved. So it doesn't matter.
Well, I mean, like I said, I'm concentrating on the Tour Bailey, and I'm concentrating on trying to finish a decent rank in our Cash Mini League. Of course, I don't think I'm going to now reach that top 4, but overall ranking is a big thing for me, and now I want to try and at least get into the top 250,000, which is still possible. So just concentrate on getting it right, really. I'm looking at the price rises. It seems that Ings could be due a price rise tonight. So that'll be interesting, wouldn't it? Firmino is possibly going up. I think he's going to be going up as well. People bringing him in for the triple game week. I think that's one that could fly under the radar, Steve-O. Firmino.
Yes, in fact, that's a question for you. Do you think that this is going to be another double game week where the popular players get nothing, and it'll be someone like Firmino, Oxlade-Chamberlain, Wijnaldum, Henderson? What about, for example, a West Ham player getting more? Are we going to be having this conversation?
Oh yeah, you can guarantee you'll have some smart aleck in chat saying, well, it was obvious you should have played Snodgrass. What you're playing at? I mean, I said on Monday night that you should have played Snodgrass and triple captained him, and then and you'll guarantee someone there be like, no, you know, I knew all along. And to be honest with you, you can just crawl back into the woodwork right now, because we're not interested in hearing that. So Allaire, there we go. Yeah.
Scott Fitzgerald. The thing I don't like about Trent Alexander-Arnold captain is that it's like saying, well, we've already had this discussion briefly, that a 7.4 defender is overall a stronger asset than a 12.3, 12.4 Salah and Mane. Yes, I am saying that. If you look at the consistency of returns from Mane and Salah and Trent is on a par with those two. In fact, I did this last night, actually. I don't want to be repeating myself, but for anybody like yourself maybe listening to this brand new, since Liverpool have gone on this clean sheet mentality, so let's just say since game week 16, although Trent he played 50 minutes because he went off injured, of course, but so from game week 17 up to yesterday, 6, 24, 8, 6, 6, 10. Whereas with Mane and Salah, we're talking from game week, I'm probably going to be proven wrong now, but from game week 17, 16, 3, 3, 10, 6, 7. So straight away I'm looking at that and thinking, maybe I should be captaining Salah straight away. And then we look at Mane, and it's a case of 6, 6, 11, 8, 3, 3. So based on that, and going on what you're saying, Scott, is that Salah looks to be the best captaincy option of the three, but from a consistency basis, Trent seems to be the one of the two as a consistency of bringing in decent, like solid single points, like an average of about like 7 points or whatever it works out to be. So again, I could be having this conversation next week and going, Scott, like Jason just said, you were bang on the money. Why didn't I just listen? But I've already said 1 billion times, I'm sticking with Trent Alexander-Arnold. Going back to what Show Me the Mane has just said, what would you have changed? And it's going with my gut. I'm just going with my gut. And I'm just going with Trent Alexander-Arnold. I wish I'd gone with my gut yesterday. I wish I'd just left the captaincy on Trent Alexander-Arnold after doing the live stream. And that's the thing, Jason, isn't it? We do all this live. We do this in front of 100 people, and people can date check it and go, oh yeah, actually, why didn't Steve-O do that there when he actually said he was going to do it, or whatever or whatever. I remember when I did the wild card live and I went into panic mode and I got rid of Jamie Vardy. I had him the whole time, and then a load of people in chat said if only Steve had just stuck with his own advice and kept Jamie Vardy, because I was ahead of the curve at the time.
Yeah.
And I got it gone. So yeah, it's been a very peculiar season, and I'll happily. I just can't wait for the deadline tomorrow evening. What is it? 6:30? Yeah, 6:30. I can't wait for it. What is the plan tomorrow, Jason? Are we going live tomorrow covering the 6 games? Yeah, 6 games. Jason. Jason isn't listening, right? Okay. Right, fair enough. I don't actually have.
Sorry,
Jason
dude.
up on...
Sorry, dude. I just had to rush to get something.
I didn't realise you'd gone. I was just saying, what's the plan on tomorrow? Are we covering the six matches?
I feel like think so. Yeah, I think so.
Cool. Oh, he's coin hunting. Apparently, you're coin hunting.
No, I'm not there.
No.
No. Oh my god! Why can't I catch?
What's going on here? At least there's music on in the background. What are you coin flipping, Jason?
No, I'm not coin. Just talk amongst yourselves.
So maybe we're going to be doing a -12.
Don't be silly.
According to Chelsea Flyer, according to you, you're doing a -8. Is that
No.
right?
Stop listening to the chat, Steve-O. They don't know what it's talking about.
I might just put it up on the screen. I might just on big letters. Shall I just put the Royal Rumble on again?
There's nothing on the screen, all right?
Do a live reaction to what's specifically going on. I haven't actually asked you this question, Jason.
Yeah.
So obviously, I've said that in all seriousness, I've said that I think that Trent Alexander-Arnold's going to get a minimum of an assist and a clean sheet across 2 games, and Salah a minimum of a goal and assist each. What are you predicting on those 3 particular players?
What? Say again.
What's your prediction on the 3 particular players in Salah, Mane, and Trent Alexander, and what they're particularly going to be?
Trent Alexander-Arnold, 2 assists and a clean sheet. Mane, 2 goals. Salah. No, Mane, 1 goal, 1 assist. Salah, 2 goals. That's what there you go.
So actually, based on what you're saying, Trent Alexander-Arnold could actually come out really, really well. I mean, no one's mentioning Robertson. Robertson could be the one that comes out on top of everything. No one has even mentioned Robertson in this.
Yeah. Could be. It's trying to predict the future, isn't it? Let's be honest with you.
FPL Lad is saying that Salah 0 goals. FPL Lad 1 goal away all season. Is that right? Right,
if this I'm going to do 10. I'm going to press this 10 times. 10 times.
Oh, here we go. Right, let's see.
I'm going to press this thing 10 times, right? And I've got that
up on the screen now. So
if it lands as heads more than 5 times, I'm going to do it. All right.
I'm now watching as well.
1. Tails. Heads. Alright, hang on. This is all for the crowd. Tails. And we got a tails. There we go. It's looking good. Heads. Heads. Tails. Heads. Tails. There we go. So I said more than 5 times, didn't I? I said more than 5 times. It's 5-4 to so if this will be a tie break. Ah, there we go. There we go. Not doing it. Sorry, Steve-O. Sorry, Steve-O. Sorry. I know. Sorry, guys. Sorry, chat.
We should have done a real coin flip. I'd have done it.
Sorry, guys. Sorry. It's just not meant to be. Not meant to be. There we go. Best
I agree,
of
Charlie.
best of 20. Oh, I don't know. It's like.
Brilliant. What a shame. Bilal, what a waste of time. Completely agree with that.
Yeah, I just think at the end of the day, just hashtag play your in game. So yeah, I think we're pretty much there now, aren't we?
Yes, I've got nothing more to say really. Like I said, we've been what's the word Dan used yesterday? FPL fatigued. I think that think that wraps up. But we're back tomorrow anyway, covering the game. So it's all
well,
it's all fun and games.
Best of luck to you, Steve-O. Best of luck to you, buddy. What? See you now.
Well, apparently people are saying you did it.
Nah. It's photoshopped.
Some people say you did it.
I photoshopped it. It's fine.
Oh, and for anybody that's watching this, actually, any members, here we go, Jason. Plug the membership and then the reasoning as to why.
Oh, so we don't plug it that much, to be honest. But we've got a membership available if you want to be a part of it. We do the odd member stream. Steve-O does the odd member rant where he let's be honest with you, it's a parental advisory, explicit lyrics. It's very entertaining. But we will be looking forward to doing more member streams. Obviously, at the moment, it's sticking fast with the podcast. But yes, support the show by hitting that subscribe button. Hit the notification bell, let you know when we go live. We'll be doing a stream Wednesday night to cover the games. We will also be active on Twitter, Discord, Instagram. Hit us up on those social media sources. If you're not part of the Discord, why not join us? Even if you don't want to come on air, like the guest this evening, you can come join us, talk in chat, speak to like-minded FPL managers, meet some new potential friends in there. It's pretty cool, pretty good place to chill. Steve-O, anything else to add?
No, other than thanks to everybody that's been our correspondents over the last few days. And if anybody wants to come and be our correspondents tomorrow evening, we've got Aston Villa versus Watford, Bournemouth, Brighton, Palace, Southampton, Everton, Newcastle, Sheffield United, Man City, Chelsea, Arsenal. By all means, be part of the show, and you can be doing what do you call it? The correspondence basically for us. It's all fun and games, really.
Hang on, something's happened here. Looks like I have done the transfer, Steve-O.
Yeah, I know. You've got it on the screen.
Right, anyway, have a good one. Take it easy.